So, to give some context, I, female 35, have been married to my husband 37 for 6 months. He has 2 children from 2 different uninvolved mothers, and they live with us full time. The kids are pre-tween and a tween. I work long hours at a demanding job, time-wise. My husband thinks that just because I work from home, I can pause whenever, but it's untrue. He'd ask me to do things for the kids or him during work hours, but I told him I'm working and unavailable during those hours, and that the kids are his responsibility until I'm done. Yesterday, he told me he wanted to attend a friend's engagement dinner and asked if I could take some time off work to make his kids dinner. I told him absolutely not and insisted that he cook for them or order takeout. He said he had no time to cook and takeout was off the table since he didn't want them to eat fast food. He later said fine and that he would cook dinner and then go to the party. 2 hours later, the kids came in and said they were hungry. I was puzzled. I asked if their dad had cooked them dinner, and they said he didn't. Moreover, he told them to come and ask me to cook for them at exactly 7 p.m. I was so angry to find myself in this situation. I took a few minutes off the meeting, ordered takeout from the nearby restaurant, fed the kids, then had them watch TV, and then went to sleep. He came home at 11 p.m. and went off on me after he discovered that I didn't cook like he was counting on me to do. Not only that, but he yelled about feeding the kids takeout. I argued back saying I had no choice after he tricked me into cooking for them, knowing that I was busy. So I ordered food and ensured that his kids were fed while I focused on work. He ranted about how I cared more about work than my stepchildren, God forbid, called me selfish, then went upstairs and refused to talk to me. He's still sulking about it today and says I need to get my priorities in order because they're messed up. Info about that friend's engagement. My husband has this friend from college. They're close, and he couldn't miss this event. Moreover, he said that he was upset with me for missing the event and now refusing to cook a healthy homemade meal in order takeout, knowing it's a no-go for him. So am I the idiot for not making some time to cook for the kids? Not the idiot. Well, I think we can figure out why the moms of these children aren't involved. I can tell you from this point, it's going to get a lot worse. Honestly, I would immediately file for divorce before he tries to take all of your assets. He only values you for what you can do for him. I'm sorry, but this isn't a relationship. Agree. His priorities are the kids before a party. Did he marry you to have a mom for the kids? Skirt's responsibility of the kids to you so he could go to a party. I tell him to sulk all you want. You didn't want them to eat fast food, and you didn't prioritize their meals instead of going to a party. Better yet, staying home and taking care of them is the priority. You're not the one who messed up. Don't allow him to manipulate you and have you believe you did wrong. Baby mama left him for a reason. Everyone's the idiot here. Why did you marry this loser? Surely you knew what the situation was going to be. You talk about his kids, but come on. They live with him full time and are preteen. Did you think you could just ignore their existence while moving in and marrying their father? You both need to get on the same page for the children's sake. You can't marry a man with kids with no mom and act completely separate. This seems like a bad match. He wants a mom for the kids. You don't want to be a mom, so everyone loses, especially the kids. But your husband is right. You seem to care more about work than anything else. And what the heck do you do that you're still in active meetings at 7 p.m.? She's at work. Just because she's at home doesn't make her less at work. Bail out now. This man does not respect your needs, feelings, or boundaries. This relationship will consume you to the point where you no longer have a sense of self. Everything will be about his and his kids' needs. This will only get worse. Save yourself and leave. File for divorce and move on to a happier existence. Sorry, hon. My wife and I just got back from our honeymoon, settled in our first ever house, and we decided to invite both of our families to dinner to celebrate. My wife takes a lot of pride in our house and her new wife role, so this was a big deal to her. My mom came with her boyfriend, Ted, and his teenage daughter, Emmy. For some context, I think Ted is an idiot, and the kid isn't great either, but I guess she gets a pass because no one taught her manners. My mom thinks the sun shines out of Ted's butt, and treats Emmy like her do-over child. For dinner, we had chicken, potatoes, salad, and squash. It was a roast chicken with no flavoring, as we had sauces. Everyone was free to get their own condiments. During dinner, Emmy began whining and complained we only had the mustard type of honey mustard and not the salad dressing kind, and she only liked the salad dressing. Ted told her to just pick something else, then laughed about how what my mom was doing looked interesting, pouring soy sauce on everything. Then he loudly announced that if you season food while you cook it, you don't have to pour condiments all over it. I looked at my wife and saw her looking like she was about to cry. Mom giggled, so I glared at her. She stopped but didn't say anything. Finally, I announced that it's rude to walk into someone else's house and insult their hosting. He tried to laugh it off and be like, "Well, we're all family now." I was furious and demanded he apologizes. He said he was sorry, but then muttered how he doesn't like cold condiments on warm food, but this food needs something. I told him to get the heck out. Emmy was like, "Oh good, we can go get other food." My mom said nothing to either of them and just asked if I was serious. I said I was, and if she wants to choose him, that's fine, but they need to get out. My mom snapped at me that I had a wife and a new life, and of course she was going to choose him, and called me delusional. They left, and mother-in-law and her husband scolded me about how rude I was, and it wasn't that big of a deal. Now my mom is angry and says I was just acting like a spoiled brat because I hate Ted, and pointed out that when mother-in-law first started dating her husband, he said some much worse stuff, and he got a second chance. I told my mom I do love her and want her in my life, but Ted is banned, as he was cruel for no reason and hurt my wife. Not the idiot. You were defending your wife against idiots, being crappy to her in your house. It probably wasn't necessary to go nuclear so quickly, but it's completely understandable. Heck, Ted and his obnoxious daughter. Did all people forget that there were polite ways to give people feedback about their cooking? Asking for condiments is fine, but humiliating the chef is not. Nope, he was seeking a pretext to throw Ted out. OP and his wife served unseasoned roast chicken and are offended that Ted made a comment. He even told his daughter to stop whining and find another condiment, but OP immediately went from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds flat. My mom would disown me if I served her and my in-laws unseasoned food. You are the idiot. Your existing prejudice against Ted makes me think you've been itching to throw him out for some time. That prejudice and your rapid escalation of the situation makes me think that you weren't really defending your wife. Instead, defending your wife was the excuse you used to justify a conflict with Ted that you believed you could win. I, 27, went to a pumpkin patch with my girlfriend, 22, and a bunch of her friends. I was told it was a couples thing, but I was the only guy there. That's fine, I'm okay with her friends. I'm past the whole cutesy date thing, but I like making her happy. But then they all started ignoring me. Every time I tried to join a conversation or spend time with my girlfriend, I got frozen out, like I was intruding. I asked her if she wanted to go do the corn maze with me, and it was like I was some creepy guy at a bar. They all had to come along like I was trying to separate her. I totally was, but I don't think that's a bad thing. They all decided to split up in the maze, and my girlfriend went with them. Screw this noise. I could go catch the Seahawks game if I boogied. So I texted her that she had 5 minutes to respond to me, or I was going back to town to watch the game, and she could get a ride back with her friends. I was literally watching the second quarter before she responded. It took her that long to notice that I was gone. Finally, she said her friend would have to drive really far out of her way to drop her off, and that I should come to get her. I was definitely over the limit, and I told her to get an Uber and I'd pay for it. She said never mind and spent the night at her place instead. I just woke up to about 50 texts from her and her friends, calling me an idiot for leaving without telling anyone. I did tell her, she just chose to ignore me. I'm angry that I wasted all that gas and time, and we never even got to spend time together. I'm upset with her and her BS friends. Am I the idiot? Edit. I enjoy taking her out and having fun. She's just starting her career, and I'm established in mine, so I like taking her out for fun stuff she enjoys. When I said that I'm past the cutesy date thing, I meant that I wouldn't be the one to suggest a date at a pumpkin patch. But she was a theater kid, and I took her to see Hamilton. She loved it. I go out of my way to take her to things she'll enjoy. And when we hang out with my friends, they all include her because she is awesome. My friends' wives and girlfriends all include her and stuff too. This is the first time she's behaved like this. The pumpkin patch had 5 bars of signal, and all of them were on Instagram, constantly posting the entire time they were there. Not the idiot, in my opinion. She kind of tricked you into coming there, and after you went, she iced you out and ignored you, which is not okay. You gave her a heads up before leaving as well. So technically, she wasn't stranded, as she had company. Had you left her alone, this would be a different situation. But because she had company as well, I believe you're not the idiot at all. She literally just used you as a free ride to her friend's get-together. I wouldn't even be surprised if the girls were planning something shady and got upset that you showed up. You're over the cutesy phase, so I assume you guys aren't together for long. If so, dump her. She's just using you until something better shows up. Couples don't act like this. And, based on the fact that they're acting like a high school clique, they probably had their phones in their hand the whole time, taking pictures probably. I don't think it's normal that she took 2 hours to notice that you weren't there when it's supposed to be a group outing. Yeah, how do you not notice that someone in your group has been missing for like 2 hours? Also, shame on her friends for treating you like an outsider. My friends and I always make sure to include our friends' significant others in conversations and activities because we all know what it's like to be the odd person out. You are the idiot. Don't date 22-year-olds and expect maturity. LOL. Also, did you not think of calling her phone? I think you purposefully sent a text and used the time of 5 minutes because you knew there was no way she'd answer you, and you could feel justified in leaving her there because, well, she didn't answer in the extremely short, unreasonable time I gave, so I'm in the right. If she's immature, you're immature and the idiot too. My male, wife, female, Sonia, is a stay-at-home mom of our 2 children, a young male and a female. I try to help with the kids when I get home. I know being a stay-at-home mom is tiring, even though she has part-time off from school, but helping with homework, making food, and taking care of kids can be exhausting. So when I get home, I make dinner, wash the dishes, and stay with our children for a while so she can have her moment too. These weeks have been pretty exhausting. It is a very important month professionally. In November will be the delivery of a 9-month project that my team and I are idealizing. Last week were the final touches and review of the entire project. So I went to work at 8 a.m., got home at 5 p.m., took care of my kids until 9 p.m., and was actually working until 3 to 4 a.m. to get 3 to 4 hours of sleep. I have trouble sleeping, so it was a lot if I slept 12 hours in 5 days. I was exhausted. I wasn't even driving because I didn't trust my senses to drive. I couldn't vent to Sonia because she was stressed too. Our children had the flu. I was dragged to the hospital by my coworkers after nearly passing out for only walking. The doctor demanded that I take a week's medical leave because I was already on the verge of burnout. When I got home, I spoke to my wife, who seemed to understand. I asked her to give me a day off from everything, as I would try to get as much sleep as possible that night to come back better. She said fine. I also offered to give her a day off because I knew she was tired too. So I went to sleep at 9 p.m. and woke up to Sonia nudging me to take the kids to school. I walked them to school. I talked about what we talked about yesterday, and she said, yeah, but that's your part of the morning, and I have other morning plans, yoga class, gym, and house cleaning. I asked her 3 times more to do this for me, as I was still exhausted, 6:30 a.m., but she just said, you're still a father, tired or not. It could have been the tired or not bit, but I ended up losing my mind and screaming, I just need a few hours of sleep. Please respect what I asked of you yesterday and let me sleep, man. She was in shock and said, okay then. So she took the kids and I slept until 4 p.m. There were several messages from her saying that I shouldn't have yelled at her for asking me to take responsibility as a parent and that it was toxic behavior of mine. Well, we haven't talked much more than necessary for 2 days. Am I the idiot? Given the context, not the idiot. A doctor ordered you to rest. Your wife agreed to help you. If the roles were reversed and you took time off work to step in for your wife, you would be the idiot for waking her up. She didn't respect your valid medical need to rest. Your doctor ordered a week of medical leave to rest. This right here. Also, it appears that the wife gets a 2-hour break every day for yoga and gym. When does OP get his 2 hours per day break? A good loving wife wouldn't be trying to argue fairness when you're sick from exhaustion. She needs a wake-up call about her entitlement. So let me get this straight. You take the kids to school, and they're in school until, 3? She watches them for 2 hours, then you take over. And otherwise, she does the cooking and the housework. Yeah, cooking and housework are a lot, but come on. That's not a fair division of labor. It sounds like she has unfair expectations of you. You were literally sick, and she wanted to do yoga. Couldn't she change up her routine a bit after you got out of the hospital for exhaustion? To let you sleep? Yeah, you're not the toxic one here. I'm an amateur baker, and I like to make cakes for people for their birthdays. My ex doesn't like sweet stuff, but our 3 kids, toddler, preschooler, and young child, like helping me make cakes for him. So I normally make one for him anyway for their sake. This year, his girlfriend planned a party for him, and she told me that she had already ordered him a cake, so I didn't need to make one. I told her that was fine, but my daughter kept asking me when we would make her dad's cake, and was upset when I said that we wouldn't, because she assumed I didn't like my ex, and that's why I wouldn't make him one. Since the cake has always been more for the kids than for my ex, I decided just to make him a small one, since it's not like he eats cake anyway. And I don't want my kids to think that I dislike their dad. So I told his girlfriend that I would make a small cake, and she told me not to, and that I couldn't bring it to the party. I told her I had to bring it to the party as that's when the kids would give him his gifts. I offered to come early and give it to him before the other guests arrived, and then they could put it away, and nobody else would know about my cake. But she disagreed with me and repeatedly just told me not to bring it. I did take it with me in the end, and now she keeps complaining to mutual friends that I did it on purpose to ruin the party and called me weird for making him a cake after I was told not to. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. That's a weird hill for her to die on, sure, but as the host, she is responsible for the cake. But it also baffles me how you couldn't find a way to tell your daughter that you don't hate her dad just because you didn't bake a cake. You could have dealt with this 1,000 different ways, but you played like you had your hands tied in a situation that would very obviously stir crap. So I suspect that was your intention to begin with. Dude, it's a little hard to explain to a child, oh, we can't do the tradition we always do because your dad's girlfriend already did it, without them getting upset. They're just small kids whose parents went through a divorce. They don't know what's happening. Girlfriends should let them have a little normalcy in their lives, even if it means having 2 cakes. The horror. Agreed, not the idiot. You were clear the cake was from the kids. The girlfriend is asserting her dominance. Any woman who says her boyfriend can't have a cake from his kids needs to think long and hard about being with someone with kids. Freaking out over a small cake from the kids ruining a party is ridiculous. She's very insecure. The wildest part of this is the birthday boy doesn't even like cake, but both his current woman and his ex feel so strongly that he needs cakes. And yeah, I know it's a party with guests and kids who all like cake, but it still strikes me as super weird since he's supposedly the guest of honor and there's like 0 considerations for what he actually would like as a dessert. Poor dude has 2 women who don't care about what he wants. Happy birthday to him.